Welcome to the Millennial Reset podcast. Stories of everyday millennials that are redefining success and happiness. Those that have decided to face those subconscious limiting beliefs head on and take the path less traveled to hit reset. Stories that inspire you to take the leap to pursue the passions, dreams, and goals of your inner child and not the expectations of society. If you're new here, welcome. You found your people. I'm your host, Peter Goose, burnt out millennial turned human design and mindset coach, and it's now my mission to create a space to have the conversations out loud around millennial burnout and mindset and inspire and empower my fellow millennial besties to decondition from the programs that keep so many of us stuck and rediscover your most authentic identity, or in other words, the Millennial Reset. And I'm so glad you're here. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Millennial Reset. So, you can call it a midlife crisis if you want, or you can just call it millennial burnout. But I think that a lot of us are getting to that point in our 30s where we're slowly realizing that the dreams and goals that we've been chasing for half of our lives are not the dreams and goals of ourselves, but just the dreams and goals of somebody else. And that all of your energy is being sucked to achieve someone else's happiness. But my guest today, Beth Merrill, listened to that quiet little whisper that tends to come through sometimes and allowed that voice to guide her in her journey to pursue her passions of music and to let go of this need that so many of us millennials hold on to, that somehow we need to prove our worth, that we need to stay within that status quo in order for us to gain approval. So Beth is over here shattering paradigms left and right. Beth, welcome to the Millennial Reset, and thanks so much for being part of this.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much for having me, and hello, everybody.
Definitely. So Beth, before we dive into your exciting little journey of music, which is amazing, y'all are going to love Beth's story of her transition in pursuing that passion, but let's start by hitting rewind a little bit here, and let's go back to your 20s. You were, like many millennials, in kind of that corporate ladder climbing mode, and you were in the fashion industry, right? So tell us a little bit more about your degree and your initial adult years in the corporate world.
Sure. So basically, I graduated with a degree in fashion and textiles design. And ultimately, I wanted to be a fabric pattern designer. So I was thinking, oh, yeah, it'd be great one day work for this really cool high street retailer, get all my prints and my textile designs on fabric, on clothes. And that was the dream in my early 20s. That's what I was working towards. But I knew in my heart, music was really what I wanted to do. But I followed textiles and fashion because I thought that was my safe option. I thought that's one kind of career that I might well be able to make something of myself in, because let's face it, music's a pipe dream. I'm never going to make it. So I may as well pick something that I might be able to excel in, that I can realistically get a job in. Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're so right though. And we were talking about this a little bit before of like how many of us get stuck with that paradigm that says, I'm going to go ahead and just take this job that aligns with the degree that I got in college because it's the safe option, right? And of course, we've been through enough recessions and layoffs in our lifetimes that the safe option sounds pretty good sometimes. But we also close ourselves off to those other options that exist of even becoming aware that, oh my gosh, nowadays you're telling me that I can actually do something online and make money from it by just pursuing a passion. Like that wasn't an option back then, right? And so, yeah, totally makes sense that so many of us want that. But then once you become aware that, oh yeah, there are other options, that's where the magic starts to happen, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true, because that whole other, like, I don't know what the word is, a whole other universe opens up before your eyes that you were kind of completely blindsided to. And actually, but to be fair, we didn't really know that in our 20s growing up, because like you say, it wasn't there yet. But it's kind of like, I still feel like we were brainwashed into kind of thinking that we needed to use our degrees. We needed to go to school, get your grades, go to university or go to college and, graduate. Get that dream job, live that kind of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday kind of. I was just, what on earth? I mean, I literally couldn't wait to do that when I graduated. I was so desperate. to get into an office, work in a head office somewhere, commute into London and do that thing for like the rest of my life. I was ready to do that. I was like, sign me up. I want to totally, get that job. I want to work my way up the ladder. I want to be a senior designer. I want to work in this amazing fashion retail place. And yeah, none of that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I was joking with Beth before we jumped on. It's kind of like the, Devil Wears Prada London edition type of thing. And, Beth, you were even mentioning too, like some of the parts of that movie actually rang pretty true for you at different points in your life as well.
Absolutely.
In the fashion industry.
Yeah, like little snippets of different jobs that I had throughout my 20s. A lot of it was working for free. A lot of it was interning at random fashion houses. And, I was also a cleaner at the same time. So I was kind of doing that to kind of get by and doing all these other jobs. And then eventually getting my break in fashion and finally getting the job. And then it all come crashing down before my eyes because I didn't fit in. My face didn't fit. Because I wasn't like the other girls there. It's just totally different. And yeah, I know they say it's not personal, but yeah, it feels personal,
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more because that kind of triggered your decision to say, this is not the life that I want to live for the next 30 years of my life. What were the kind of, milestones along the way before you decided to put in the official notice that you were quitting? What were the kind of milestones along the way of like that rejection, that dismissal that happened within your career path?
Yeah. So a lot of the milestones were just the kind of exhaustion of striving all the time, the constant kind of box ticking exercises I was having to do, going from one job to the next, being put on review because I wasn't performing as well. And I just genuinely just wanted to work hard. Like I'm a hard worker. I'm very conscientious and I put everything I have into whatever kind of project you give me. And sometimes that's never going to be enough. It's always going to be like, oh, that wasn't quite enough. You didn't quite do enough. That's all I've ever heard. And that was one of the things that kind of in terms of started to get me thinking, and I'm kind of one of those people who's quite stubborn. So I was like, I will, continue to, try and find my way into some kind of awesome job that will appreciate me. And I'll sometime one day be a manager. And I was, really up for that kind of, let me climb the ladder and, get that salary package and free dental, and all that.
The chase, the never ending chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about kind of the other piece of leading up to this is that moment of realization where, you weren't happy and you realize, oh my God, this job is like sucking all of my energy. So now talk to us a little bit about that moment in time where you decided, okay, like this is it, like I need a change. And what happened with that to create that change for you?
Yeah, so the final straw really was, well, I got fired from my fashion job that I'd worked hard to get for years. And of course, the grass isn't always greener. And so I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
But thank goodness that happened to me, really, because it changed so much situations in my life that wouldn't have changed if I'd stayed in that position. And so I kind of, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise that happened. And that then threw me into this whirlwind of getting random different jobs that had nothing to do with my degree. I was suddenly in this world of like, who am I? Where am I? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm not following my degree anymore. I can't go back into design and fashion anymore because they've totally rejected me. So I need a break from that. I need to kind of do something else completely opposite. At that time, obviously, I was still doing my music on the side in the secret place in private. Nobody kind of knew I was a musician. But I was kind of chasing after customer service roles, admin roles, receptionist roles, just kind of doing something that I thought, well, I can use my customer service skills. I can use other skills that I can use as like transferable into other jobs. But I knew that wasn't really me. I just kind of chased it because I needed money. Just to kind of get by. And so, after a few kind of jobs where, again, I tried to kind of climb the corporate ladder in that respect as well. Some of them were quite corporate businesses, very, regimented and very much box ticking exercises. And the final straw really was when I got put on performance review and and you're not doing enough, you're not complying. And I
Mm.
knew that I was working hard, I knew that I was turning up, and then being, I don't know, I don't want to be negative, but it was just one of those things where I just felt like I was punishing myself because I was putting all my energy in, and I just felt miserable because I just felt like I wasn't going anywhere, and I was being
Yeah.
criticized. And yeah, I just felt like what I had to offer just wasn't enough. And it really affects your confidence. It really destroys you. It's soul
Yeah.
destroying because you're not living your true life. You're not being the true version of you.
Yeah.
You're literally just box ticking somebody else's vision, like what you said at the start, like literally living out somebody else's dream. And
Yeah.
you're basically the little lemming kind of walking in, probably, let's face it, blindly walking in, being brainwashed and kind of, yes
Yeah.
sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, every day, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And
Yeah.
then you live for the weekend. You literally can't wait till Saturday comes. And
Right.
then you dread Monday morning, and you're just like, I can't be doing with this, all this corporate nonsense.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like, I stopped trying to kind of climb that, oh, I must become a supervisor, I must become a manager ladder. Even though I've got those skills, I know I could do it really well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, it's a shame because because of the way we've kind of been conditioned, a lot of good companies miss out on a lot of good employees because of the some of the I don't know what the word is, the systems they put in place,
Yeah.
and of how to kind of,
Toxicity.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's toxic. And it's, yeah, when you've been through a few of those, and like you said before, like you've seen a few layoffs and or
Yeah.
firings, or or company closures. I've seen quite a few of those,
Yeah.
and you kind of just become numb to it. It sounds
Yeah.
awful, but you kind of become
You're
numb.
you're so right. And I mean the fact too that like, as millennials, we're growing up with somebody always telling us, "Hey, get out there and work harder. Don't rest. Rest is
Mm,
lazy." And then when you
yeah.
do that and you're working your ass off again to achieve all the, tick mark boxes that you're mentioning, and then when somebody tells you that you're not doing enough, like,
Mm,
yeah, not only does that destroy your confidence, but then half of our identities, if not more, are based on our job titles anyways these days as millennials. So then what does that do to our level of value and self-worth when somebody tells us that the thing that we've been fucking, killing ourselves for in order to
yeah.
achieve is we're not worthy enough for it, we're not giving you enough value? Like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
going to destroy us just a little bit. That's going to screw us up just a little bit, corporate America. um
exactly.
but you then, yeah, Beth, you mentioned too, kind of the lead up to, so October of 2019 is when you officially, quote unquote, put the middle finger up to corporate America and said, "Hey, I'm quitting," and put the notice in. But talk to us a little bit about the other factor that led up to that was the anticipation of your belated honeymoon and how that had an impact on things.
Yeah, it was again like one of those other things that comes along that it kind of is like there at the right time. It's a blessing in disguise. And it was something I'd looked forward to all year. We planned it all year. We'd saved up for a year and a half to go. And I knew I was in the wrong job right from the word go. Like I knew it.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of going through the motions, kind of just getting through the job, trying to please the bosses and trying to like get through each day, masking, like we mentioned
Yeah.
this before, like I've been masking my whole life anyway for mental health reasons. So masking it
Hmm.
in a job, trying to pretend to be somebody else that I'm not just to get through the day was already screwing me over.
Yeah.
And so like knowing that I had this honeymoon to look forward to, we'd waited since we got married in 2018, so it'd been like a year and a half, and we were so excited, and it was something to look forward to. And I was like, great. And the pressures of the job just started to really affect my mental health. And it really kind of started to it really started to degrade how I felt about myself.
Mm.
And I was exhausted. I was like trying to do three people's jobs.
Yeah.
And it was just the pile up of work, and I knew I was in the wrong role anyway. It was just the type of job I was doing just did not suit me, and I just couldn't cope with the
Yeah.
amount of work. And but I did my best, and because thankfully with masking you can kind of get away with quite a lot, because you can kind of
Hmm.
perform and you can kind of be a good actress, so nobody would have a clue that anything's wrong.
Yeah.
You could just sail through these jobs and be like, I'm yay okay, I'm
Yeah.
fine, guys, when really you're screaming inside.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right. I mean, the mask has a benefit. If it didn't have a benefit, we wouldn't wear it. But like, yeah, it clearly has a
Mm.
benefit, and I think it's worth acknowledging that at least. But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, the downside is it keeps us horribly stuck and not able to move forward.
Yeah,
Um,
and
so
that's
you
kind of
guys,
where I was.
yeah, exactly. And so then you quit the job in 2019, and then you guys ended up going on your belated honeymoon in 2019 to Australia, right?
Yes.
Which I'm
So
sure was like amazing.
Oh, yeah, a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah,
So love to go back one day. But that was like the final destination. It was like the light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah,
And so it was after I got signed off from that job for a week, and it was towards the end of October, and we were meant to go in December. And I thought, well, if I'm not going to resign now, I'm never going to. And of course, the whole annual leave thing as well. I thought I'm not, going to go back in the new year with hardly any annual leave as well. It was just
yeah,
that's one thing, and that's a whole other topic altogether. But it was
yeah,
just a bit like, you know what? I'm going to bust my gut for the rest of 2020, not knowing about the pandemic, obviously,
yeah,
and then like feeling like I'm not going to have any holiday to like reset and really kind of be myself, and just I'm going on this amazing holiday, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go back into how I felt before. Like, no,
yeah,
I'm not doing that. No.
right.
So the final straw was I handed my notice in end of October and worked my month's notice. And it was really scary. It was very scary because obviously I didn't have a job to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thank my husband from the bottom of my heart for supporting me in that. And I know a lot of people out there might not have that support. And so, I fully appreciate how difficult it is. And it's actually braver to do that if you are
Yeah,
completely living on your own. But thankfully, at this time in my life, my husband was, very much supportive of me and said, yeah, I've got you. I'll cover you for a little while. And I, in that kind of sense, I thought, oh, a couple of months, I thought I'd be up and working again within, January, February time.
yeah,
And so yeah, to me it was just meant to be a little break, not knowing COVID was around the corner.
mm-hmm.
And basically I was just so elated walking out of that room. The biggest sigh of relief just came over me. I was like, thank goodness
Yeah,
I resigned. I want to go and do something creative. That's literally what I wrote on my resignation. I want to, sorry, it's with regret. Not really.
yeah,
It's with regret that I would like to resign my position because I'd like to go and do something creative. And everyone was really supportive.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, thank goodness, I broke out of that corporate kind of
mm-hmm.
environment. And I actually wrote a song about the status quo, and like how, you mentioned that word earlier,
Yeah,
before we started recording, and I've actually got a song called I Can't Follow the Status Quo. It's all about breaking out. And I actually wrote that song right when I was about to have my notice in. And like, I can't do this whole 9 to 5 lemming kind of lifestyle
yeah,
anymore. Like, I can't be what you want me to be. I have to break free. I have to get out of this because it's destroying me. And if I don't do it soon, I'm literally probably will never work again because
yeah,
I'm so broken. And yeah, so I'm so glad, even though I was, jobless for a while afterwards because of COVID,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, everything happened. But Australia was definitely a once in a lifetime trip. It was amazing. It really helped kind of heal the wounds that I'd been, battered and
Yeah,
bruised from over the years. And it really kind of helped me reset and kind of go, right, new year, new me.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, just traveling in general is just a natural healer, isn't it? Just
Oh, for
seeing the
sure.
world.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so many times, especially when we're in that burnout mode, we use vacations as the solution to say I'm gonna go on vacation, and then when I come back, I'll be refreshed and I'll be able to go back to work as like this brand new person. And it doesn't work, right? Because we go on vacation and then a week later we're just right back into the same environment, driven by the same stimulus that caused us to get burnt out in the first place. But when you strategically use a vacation in that way to say, okay, great, I'm going to go somewhere else and take a break. And then when I come back, I know that I'm jumping into something new. That's like a whole, other side of the coin where you can really be able to, like you mentioned, do some of that healing that is so necessary. Because I think, like, we get in our own way sometimes. We say, I'm going to go on vacation and heal. But then once we get on vacation and we're there, all we think about is like, oh my gosh, what's the message right now that I'm missing on my laptop? Or like,
Yeah,
whose
yeah,
call am I not responding to right now because I'm not paying enough attention? It all goes back to, again, that whole idea of like our
mm,
value and our worth based on productivity.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so let's talk about that. So you get back from Australia, and then of course COVID happens right after that. But
yeah,
like many people during COVID, you took some of that time to really be able to rediscover some of the passions that maybe you've forgotten about. One of which was music. And you talked
yeah,
a little bit about this before. I want you to talk to the viewers about this. Of course, the pandemic blocked us from being able to do things in person, especially something like playing music. But that gave
yeah.
you the opportunity to then share your gifts online, right? So talk to us a little bit about that journey of really taking some of those first steps of stepping into this new identity and trying out this new passion.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'd always been quite shy, so I'd never really sung publicly by myself before. No one really knew that I was a songwriter or a musician pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done a little bit of, music in the church and stuff, but I wasn't really like front and center, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was kind of like hiding, very much hiding the fact that I love to really belt out my songs and write songs, and I was very much a musician. That was like my calling, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of suppressed it all my life. And yeah, and I was just waiting for that one person to go on, Beth, you can do it. Why don't you just kind of release your music? Why don't you be a singer? And that never happened,
Mm,
because I just thought, oh well, I'm obviously not good enough then, and or nobody thinks I should because I'll never make it.
yeah.
And then yeah, it got to the stage where COVID hit. Obviously, like you say, it was really hard to see some of my friends who, were already musicians, struggling because they wanted, all they'd known was performing in person, and that was their livelihood. It got taken away, and that
Yeah.
was really hard to see. And but I knew part of me was like, well, there's going to be music online. Everyone's going to flock to Facebook Live or TikTok, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to be on these platforms on Instagram, and everyone's just going to be like singing online. So yeah, I'm going to hop on that bandwagon. And
Yeah.
I'd done a few videos over the years, but I'd never shown my face. And then
Mm.
I decided to just kind of start posting videos of me singing, playing piano, and a church I was a part of at the time asked me to do some of the songs for the Sunday services online. So I did, and that kind of helped me break out of that cage of fear that I was living in, because I was stuck in this cage of fear for most of my
Yeah.
life anyway, because of the whole, burnout and being in the wrong job, and my self-worth and self-value being destroyed so much that I'd kind of convinced myself I wasn't good enough anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't bother. But that kind of helped me become a bit more liberated when I was started to sort of sing online, and
Yeah.
be like, oh, I don't have to sing in person because nobody can see me. It's great.
Uh-huh. And isn't it
um
so strange how that happens too? It's like once you decide to actually pursue a passion, yeah, there's that voice that's always going to go off in the back of your mind that's like, am I enough? Am I good enough? Am I experienced enough? Blah, 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 blah. But then, like, just by you deciding to pursue the passion, sometimes those opportunities that you don't expect, like you mentioned about with the church choir coming up, and it's like, it's almost that thing that then gives you the opportunity to take the step outside your comfort zone that you wouldn't have done on your own alone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These things just sort of come at you and completely out of the blue. And you're like, wow, okay. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I put myself out there then. If I wish I'd put myself out there sooner, I wish I'd believed in myself sooner. I wish I'd like
Yes.
taken that chance and actually gone stuff everybody else, stuff what people think, stuff this box ticking exercise in all my
Yeah.
jobs. And, who cares, that I'm trying to strive towards, my degree, and justify everything that I've learned in my degree and over the years, and all justify my grades and
Yeah.
stuff all that, like
Mm.
yeah, because you just feel so like free and so glad. You feel like you're spreading your wings for the
Yeah.
first time. You feel like you're flying. You feel like you finally got broken out of that cage, and you're
Yeah.
just like, yay, I might be flying and I might not be soaring yet, but I'm flying.
Right.
And I'm, I might be plummeting at the same time, but at least I'm not about to die, at least I'm flying somehow. And
Right.
you know what? The universe has a way of always catching you, right?
Exactly.
I,
Yep.
I'm a strong believer of that. And you know what? Even if you do fall flat on your face, you can still get back up again. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not really a failure because we all kind of learn from those mistakes anyway. So, but hands down, it's definitely never a mistake following your heart.
Yeah, at least you took the leap, right? It's like how many
Yeah.
of us are going to get to the end of our lives and regret not even exploring the option that there's even a leap to take. um,
Yes,
and
exactly.
I
Some
think,
people don't even realize.
yeah, and you talked about this a little, we talked about this before too, a little bit, but I want to dive into this in more depth because when we talk about like the mindset piece and the subconscious sabotaging beliefs that so many of us hold that keep us stuck in that mode, is this one that you talked about is that the fear that I'm going to say it exactly how you wrote it because it's so beautiful. The fear that if I let go of trying to make something of myself in corporate environment and feeling like I won't be successful, that me not using my degree and thinking that I'm a failure. It's a
Mm,
huge one. That's a
so
huge
big.
one, I think, for so many of us of,
Yeah.
you know, that the narrative that says, well, you spent all this money, and we were talking before, it's like student debt is pretty similar in the UK as it
Oh,
is to here in the United
I'm
States,
still in
right?
debt. I'll probably be in debt the rest of my life.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I think we pressure ourselves into saying, well, I spent all this shit ton of money on this degree. I better use it for my own success and happiness. And
Yeah.
then, again, all of our beliefs keep us safe from something. And we have the mask that we put on for a good reason. But then the downside of that, that I think is so inspiring that you were able to break through, is to say, oh, wait a second. There's actually another option here. There is an option that exists where I don't even have to worry about using my degree, that I can
Yeah,
actually pursue a passion and actually make something out of it. But I'm
absolutely.
sure you can say too, like that is not an easy process to go through breaking down that barrier, right?
No, it's really not. It's actually really painful because a lot of things can still trigger you, like the trauma
Mm-hmm.
responses from the
Yeah.
past, like the rejection. Like I was rejected so much in my fashion jobs, because I mentioned that I didn't quite fit in, and
Mm-hmm.
it was never good enough. And I was always time pressured to create these amazing things, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't appreciated. And also, yeah, the same goes for like not hitting your targets in
Mm-hmm.
this kind of XYZ situation. And yeah, it is a trauma response because you, especially when you've been unfairly dismissed or fired from somewhere and you've lost your home, you have to move away, you've lost your income, and you have to start from scratch all over again. and
Yeah.
and it's very, very hard, and you just feel so alone, you feel so isolated. And it's one of those things where you always worry it's going to happen to you again. You always fear that something's going to come along and pull the rug from under your feet.
Yeah.
And I still get triggered even now, like even now in some kind of jobs I do, I feel like I'm not doing enough, even though
Yeah.
I know I am, but I still feel like they're going to turn around and say, by the way, you're fired, even
Totally.
though
Yep.
I probably won't be, but I still think that's going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
I still have that kind of, oh no, what if I'm not doing it? But then,
Yeah.
but that aside, what I really would like to do is my music full time. And that's what kind of
Mm-hmm.
saves me from going down that dark path again, because it makes me go, actually, no, I've been liberated from that. I've been set free from that mindset. I
Mm.
don't need to live with with myself looking over my shoulder. I don't need to live with those past torments in my head anymore.
Yeah.
I've overcome that. I'm an overcomer. So I don't need to live in the past. I've got my future. I don't always know what it's going to look like. I don't really know where my music's going to go. Who
Mm-hmm.
cares if I'm not that successful? I'd love to make a successful living from it, but I'm not striving to be famous or anything.
Yeah.
It'll just be really good to, make a living from it, doing what I love doing and sharing my music, sharing my gifts. And that is so liberating. Like
Yeah.
once you let go and you finally, it's not easy, but once you do, yeah, it's the best thing you'll ever do. And you can just go, ah.
Yeah, take that breath. Yeah. But I mean, like you mentioned, that's scary shit. And I think part of it too is that the moment that you kind of mentioned this too is like the moment that you even fathom the possibility of saying, "Oh, I want to go and pursue this passion." The moment that you decide that you want to go do that, then the split second later, all of the limiting narratives pop up that say exactly like you mentioned, right? I'm not enough. I'm not enough of this. I'm not doing enough of that. But yeah, when you finally then just hit pause for just a split second, right? And be like, what's really true here? Like that was a thing I had to continue to ask myself again and again in that transition is like, what's really true here versus what's the story that my silly little mind is making up based on my past experiences and, like you mentioned, past trauma responses, right? It's like
Yeah.
once you become aware that the narrative is not actually you, it's just your past experiences,
Yeah.
then at that point in time, then you can liberate yourself from it. Then you can say, oh yeah,
Mm.
that's not present me, that's not future me, that was past me, and past me is
Yeah.
no longer me.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. And it's so easy to fall into that trap and convince yourself that that's who
yeah,
you are. But actually, like you say, that's not us anymore. Like, and I sometimes go into that self-rejection cycle again. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, no
yeah,
one's ever going to book me for a gig. I'm not a good enough singer. And I'm like, wait. You spent your whole life thinking that. Give
yeah,
yourself a break, Beth. You're actually quite good.
yes.
Like, believe in yourself. Come on, now's the time. There's no time like the present. Believe in yourself. Go for it. Live your dream. Stop making excuses. Just go for it.
Yeah. And be your own coach, right? Like stop waiting for
Yeah.
somebody else to come and tell you that you should go do XYZ.
Exactly.
Beth, I just love your story. So let's talk a little bit about present day and how your life is a little bit different. So obviously you're pursuing the music, but you mentioned like you're also doing work on the side to be able
Yeah.
to, make an income and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
give us a little rundown of like what does a typical day, week look like in the life of Beth Merrill today?
Completely different to what it
Yeah.
was in my 20s and early 30s. So I'm now mid 30s, and it's taken me since the sort of COVID um fiasco to kind of get that routine going.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now it consists of I can now go to a workout class in the day if I want, because I haven't got to do a 9 to 5. I do
Mm-hmm.
have a part-time job, but it's such a blessing because I can choose my hours and I can work from home.
Yeah.
And it really works hand in hand with my music. And, jobs come and go anyway. So
Right.
I'm just very grateful to have that right now. I mean, who knows? My life might be different in a year. I might be doing music full time. That'd be amazing. But right now, the reality is I'm working part time to keep my bills paid, and I'm enjoying my job. And it's, it uses my skills, my customer service skills still. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, doing my music, which is obviously my main thing, doing my music part time, and I go busking part time as well. So I'm writing, producing, and also singing live at gigs and events, which brings in more money. And the great thing is about that, it's just so diverse, it's different. I'm not sat at a computer
Yeah.
every day. I'm not just doing the same thing every day. I'm doing something different. I go to new places to sing. I meet new people, and yeah, it's just great. I can kind of design my day how I like.
Yeah.
And the most depressing thing when I used to work in a corporate environment, 9 to 5, was sitting at my desk at 11 a.m. and going, I could be on a run right now. I could be out jogging.
Mm-hmm.
I could have driven to the seaside. Not that I do that, but
Yeah.
I seriously need to
But you
sort my fitness
could.
out.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Or I could go and meet my friend for a coffee, or my friend who's having a really bad time right now. Oh, I could
Yeah.
actually drive over to their house and spend some time with them, or, and that kind of thing. It's just so much more liberating, and I've got a better work-life balance. I'm so much more mentally freer. My mental health's improved a lot.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that, but at the end of the day, it's a lot better. And I'm thankful that, I'm so grateful for what I have. I count my blessings. I'm very grateful to have the balance I do. And, credit to my husband. He's been so supportive of that as well. I couldn't do it without him.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do practically make nearly a full-time wage just from having those two different jobs.
Yeah.
So it kind of works. It's kind of, evens itself out, and it's worked out really well. Taking
Mm-hmm.
that leap, taking that chance,
Yeah.
taking risk, and actually just throwing caution to the wind and saying, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and live my life, and I'm going to design a life that I know that I can be free in, that I can enjoy, that I'm not going to feel oppressed in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, it's always changing, but I'm so grateful that I can probably say that, yeah, I feel like it's so much different. It's, if I could tell Beth 4 years ago, hey Beth, in 4 years time you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, does that exist? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Where's the exit now? Let me get off this train now. I'm jumping right now. Like I would have jumped off the train way sooner if I'd known that I would have been okay, that I would have landed
Yeah.
on my feet, and that everything would have worked out. Because I
Yeah.
believe yeah, everything will work out for you if you try. You know, there's nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. And
exactly.
yeah, I'm just grateful that so far things are working out. It's not all roses and rainbows, but I'm just thankful that, you know, I'm living out my passion. I'm doing what I love doing. I'm finally living in my purpose. And yeah, I'm doing what I've been created to do.
Yeah. I think we all just need to give ourselves permission to just once in your life to have the fuck it all moment.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
just try it, right? Just try it. You don't have to get married to the idea of it. You don't have to go down that route permanently, but just to explore what that other option might look, sound, and feel like.
Yeah.
But I think what I love about your story too, Beth, is like you are a really great example that it's it's often necessary in order to separate, not necessarily separate, but to find a balance between work and passion, right? It's not always going to be the case that we can just, you know, like you said, jump off the train and dive full head on to our passion. But by being able to have work be work and passion be passion, right? And if the two happen to intermix, then amazing. But if not, then at least giving yourself the space and giving yourself the permission to say, great, I'm going to do this thing over here for work to make, you know, pay my bills. But then I'm going to be able to give myself enough time to pursue this passion and allow that to maybe fill in the income gap or whatever it may be. And I think it's the big difference for me in my own experience with this is before I was allowing the job to become my identity, right? And I think the difference now is that simply choosing a job, because I do like freelance and consulting on the side too for like, you know, not even related to this, but it's just a job for me, right? It's not something, yes, I guess I'm good at it or whatever, but it's not like my number one passion. And being able to focus and choose a job that you can then still pursue your passion, that really kind of becomes your identity, right? And I think like that's the big difference, is being able to separate the two out and allow them to become one over time, but at least at first allowing yourself to say, okay, great, work is work, and then afterwards I'm going to spend time focusing on me and what matters to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. And that's kind of what I've discovered, kind of not being too picky as well about trying to make a day job to make ends meet as well. Like there's nothing wrong with doing that, as well as following a passion, and as well as what I've found as well as being honest with your employees and just saying, actually, you know, I really am trying to chase my music dream. I'm trying to, you know, I am passionate about this, and I care about the company, I care about your business, but I also care about what I'm doing, and just being transparent and being honest. And I've found by doing that, they've been really supportive, and they want to see me succeed, you know. So and that's great. That's very rare.
Totally.
So I'm grateful I have that. Who knows, you know, like I said, everything's temporary. But I'm just grateful that that's the current situation. And just turn the light on.
You're good.
So in that respect, I'm just grateful that I have that income. And I think it's just a case of being open-minded as well, and not completely closing off other opportunities that might come along that you never expected you'd even be good at or enjoy.
Totally.
Other areas that could grow your skill set.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, one of the things I always talk about with like the podcast and with guests that interview and whatnot is, you know, it's all about like redefining success and happiness. And obviously you're such a great example of that. But as we begin to kind of wrap up here, Beth, when you think about like how you define your own happiness today as opposed to 4 years ago, like what defines your happiness today? Like how do you define it today as opposed to what you may have defined it as before?
Well, that's such a good question. How do I define my happiness? I guess just being able to wake up and go, you know what, I don't have to sit in a traffic jam.
Yes. Something,
that was already number one burnout factor in itself, was sitting in a traffic jam. But just generally just knowing that, you know what, I can plan my calendar a lot freer. My life is my own, and I can be whoever I want to be. I'm not chained to a desk. I'm not being told that I have to measure up to this, that, and the other on a piece of paper just to get a pay rise or a paycheck at the end of the day. You know, it's like, actually, the sky's the limit, and yeah, nothing is impossible. You can live your life, and just having that self-assurance and that inner peace in myself, knowing that I'm so glad I followed my heart. And
Yeah.
that is the one thing I would describe me as the happiness that I experience now, is because it's like this relief, and I still even have it now, like just this relief that I'm just so glad I listened to that little voice and that little whisper in
Yes.
my head, and when, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. I don't care if anyone believes in me. I don't care if nobody understands. I'm just going to go for it anyway.
Yeah.
And amazing things have happened as a result. And it's
Mm-hmm.
incredible what happens if you just let go
Yeah.
and you just let it be. And yeah, and you just don't know what could happen. But the amazing thing is that amazing things do happen.
Yeah.
I
You become a
believe.
magnet. You know, I'm not like big into like the woo-woo manifestations type of stuff, but there's obviously something there behind it of just like when you just simply set an intention and don't worry about how it's gonna, be quote unquote manifested in your life, but just to be able to
Yeah.
say like this is what I'm gonna focus on. This is the direction that I'm heading in my life. And then everything else just so happens to unfold as it does, and you just sit back and enjoy the journey, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
uh yeah, sometimes it can be that smooth, and that, like, I don't want to say easy, but yeah, it can feel
Right.
like that,
Yeah.
like everything
The
falls
shit
into
show. Yeah.
place. But sometimes it just, yeah, it is literally everything falls apart, and it's just learning to be joyful even if
Yeah.
things go wrong, like even if yeah, you experience a massive avalanche and
Yeah. Just
you
to
end up being caught up in it, that's
enjoy the
okay
ride.
too. Yeah, just know
Yeah.
there's a trampoline at the bottom and you'll spring right back up.
There you go. Yes. That needs to be on like a poster somewhere.
Yeah. Have you got your trampoline?
um, all right, Beth. Well, before we wrap up here, I want you to share with the audience a little bit about. I know you're coming out with some new songs. Tell the audience a little bit about like what is your style of music and songwriting, and where can they find you? Because I'm sure many of our audience members are going to want to go from this and go straight to listening to one of your songs.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share as well. Yes, in terms of my music style, I'm quite poppy, alternative. So I write songs around the themes of the underdog, kind of, striving and kind of pushing forward. One of my songs is called Pressing On, that I
Mm.
released on an EP that I released last year. And it's all about keeping moving forward, even if times are hard, times are rough. And a lot of these songs have come out of my experience from the burnout. So, like, I've got a song called Rising Up, where it's all about the rejection I went through, but it's like you're overcoming all that rejection, and that's quite a kind of a I don't know, electric dance kind of song. That's quite an upbeat, kind of funky one.
Uh-huh.
But so yeah, I kind of range from different genres, different styles, but I would generally say my style is quite poppy.
Yeah.
And I've got a song called Given All I've Got coming out on the 2nd of June.
Mm.
So yeah, go check it out. It's all about yeah, again, it's kind of similar message, kind of you're pushing through all the mud of your life, you're pushing through all the stuff that's in your way, and you're saying, move out my way, I'm giving it all I've got to make it
Yeah.
happen, to make my dreams happen. And yeah, I'm just continuing the theme of kind of like having that underdog mindset and overcoming, and basically saying I'm going to thrive. That's another song I'm working on called I Will Thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with all this burning out. I say in some of the lyrics, it's time that I start living loud. Today's the day, I won't let it pass me by. And they're
Mm.
like lyrics that I've written, and I really want to basically tell my story through that song. So that's another song I'm writing and working on, that will be out this year. So
I
it's kind of
cannot wait. I mean, I just love this too because like you're taking your passion for singing and you're taking your skills and your talents obviously for singing and music, and what you're doing is you're weaving your experience. You know, they talk about this all the time on like, these singing shows like American Idol and whatnot. It's like you have to be able to tell the story through your voice. And like I feel like that's
yeah.
what you're doing out there is you're telling your own experience, your story through this passion, your talent of music. And it's like, man, Girl, you have figured out life.
Oh, bless you. I'm just grateful that I can tell my story. Like that's
Yeah.
what, like you say, that's what it's all about. Just telling a story, getting the message across, and obviously just trying to relate to other people and saying you're not alone. You know what you're going through right now. If you, spin this song, hopefully this song can help you. I write songs to help other people. So it's not about me. It's more about just reaching other people, helping to help others heal and feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can live my dream. I can go for it. Woohoo. It's kind of giving people that zeal and that kind of energy. And so you can find my music and
there's something to be said too about like the healing of music, the healing power of music that I think, we don't talk about enough. So well, Beth, and I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but you can say again in case I missed it, of how can they find you on Spotify and YouTube and all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. Literally, at Beth Merrill Music is my handle on all social media platforms. So yeah, just search Beth Merrill Music or just Beth Merrill. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, all of those, so thank you so much.
And yeah, we'll be sure to post that with the episode description too, so people can easily find you in your music. But thank you again, Beth. You have been amazing. We might even have to have you on again here, especially after all this new music gets released as a little update episode maybe. But really appreciate you coming on and telling your story.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Peter, for having me. It's been an absolute joy and an honor and a privilege to share with you guys. And I'm just so grateful that you asked me on. And I really hope that what I've said really resonates and speaks to a lot of you guys out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it will. All right. Well, thank you again, Beth. And thank you all for listening in to another episode of the Millennial Reset. Be sure to share far and wide with all of your millennial besties because the conversations are growing. The conversations are happening. It's not just you or me. We're here to support each other. So be sure to check out www.themillennialreset.com where you can learn more about the podcast as well as upcoming free workshops. And we'll see you next time on the Millennial Reset. Hey besties, if you're one of the millions of millennials feeling stuck in a constant state of stress and burnout, then number one, you're not alone. And number two, there is a way out. Be sure to check out www.themillennialreset.com for free online workshops, or you can become a member and join a community of support to learn a better way out of burnout.